I'm Chuck Todd. Up next on Hotline TV, Rudy makes it kind of official by dropping the phrase testing the waters from his FEC paperwork.
And I'm John Mercurio. We will tell you what phrases we're dropping. Clean and articulate, perhaps?
All that and more next on Hotline TV.
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us. You can learn more about America's natural resources at nma.org, the National Mining Association.
From the Watergate Building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now here are Hotline editors Chuck Todd and John Mercurio.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm Chuck Todd.
And I'm John Mercurio. So, Rudy Giuliani is really running for president.
Well, we think so. He filed the statement of candidacy. You know, with Rudy, you have to wait until he files and puts his name on the New Hampshire primary ballot, right? I mean, isn't that what at this point what we're waiting for?
And speaking of New Hampshire, it's sort of interesting that he decides to get into this race after he falls behind McCain, or he loses ground to McCain in the New Hampshire primary.
It's a Dick Bennett poll, so, you know, those things fluctuate without.
Friend of the show, Dick Bennett.
I know he is. God love you because you put out these polls, but my God, is it a dartboard sometimes? They just come up all over the map.
Look, Rudy Giuliani has to do a lot more than file some paper, I think, to convince a lot of people that he's in this race for good, because there's a track record here. He ran for the Senate in 2000. He got into the race for all intent and purposes, and then got out. And I think that a lot of people still wonder if his heart's in this, because there's a long road to hoe between here and the primaries.
I understand that you get all your talking points from John Weaver, which you did a very good job just articulating for the show.
Thank you.
But the fact is, Rudy has been doing little things every day to look more and more like a candidate, and this is yet another little thing. At some point we have to look at the whole picture and say, okay, this guy's doing.
Chuck, you got to get out. You got to get out of bed with Sonny Mandel. You got to get out of bed with Sonny Mandel, which is where you have been spending the past 6 months. Absolutely not. Mitt Romney has put a campaign together. He's got a foundation. He's got an organization. How many people have endorsed Rudy Giuliani's campaign compared to how many people have gotten behind Mitt Romney's campaign?
You're absolutely right. Rudy's got a ways to go on that. But look,
and the reason that people haven't gotten behind him is because nobody other than maybe Mary Bono think he's actually, think he's actually running for president.
Do you know why Rudy feels like he can get in this thing still?
Why? Tell us, Chuck.
Because Romney hasn't done so well.
That's true.
So far. He hasn't connected.
I agree with.
The conservative transformation hasn't taken hold, and Rudy's sitting there going, and we discussed this last week on one of our award-winning shows, it just hasn't taken hold, and now Rudy can say, hey, you know what, you may not, you know where I stand. You may not agree with me all the time, but I'm a conservative at heart.
I'm a conservative at heart, but that's the big question, right? Romney's transformation into the conservative that he wants to be for this race hasn't really taken hold. So now all of a sudden Giuliani is going to step in and be that conservative, or be what the candidates for conservatives
probably
want
is,
him to
at
be.
the end of the day, better for McCain if both of these guys are in it.
Absolutely.
You know, a three-way race, John McCain feels pretty good about his odds. The quicker he whittled down to two, then he starts getting nervous, particularly if it's at the end. But we'll see. Look, Rudy has a bunch of detractors like yourself who aren't going to believe he's in this thing. So he probably needs to do a series of why I'm running speeches.
Right.
And probably has to do it a little bit more, and the bar he has to cross is higher than most candidates.
Which is actually interesting. I mean, in one moment of candor, in a moment of candor, a rare moment of candor for Rudy Giuliani, he actually said that in South Carolina. He said, look, I have to decide if I can make a unique contribution to this campaign and to the country, and I haven't decided that I can do that yet. Whether that just means that he hasn't figured out a way to articulate it, or whether he hasn't actually decided
how much of
is
this
the important question.
How much of this decision to get rid of this phrase, to get out of the testing the waters phase, which really is a financial designation more than anything, so he can start raising real money.
Right.
But how much of this was dictated by this rumor that somehow he hadn't decided he was going to run as a Republican for president, that somehow he had conveniently left off that check? This put this to bed.
I don't dabble in rumors. You can peddle it. You
can
transfer.
I'm just saying, how much of this had to do with making sure that rumor didn't get out of hand?
I don't know, 5%.
Well, okay. There he is. Rudy's in. And you know what? You know who the happiest person is in
Chuck
America?
Todd.
No.
Chuck Todd.
Rupert Murdoch, man. The owner of the
Judy
New York Post.
Nathan.
The
Donna Hanover. Donna Hanover's stock will once again rise. She will be the
Adams.
guest.
Richard Johnson. I mean, Page 6. Cindy Adams. These are the real winners here. Hillary and Rudy in.
Sure.
Oh, Good stuff.
And before the sun sets, we'll be telling you about the George Pataki withdrawal announcement, which I'm sure is coming as soon as possible.
Last week, back in time.
Right.
But he hasn't really done it yet. That's it for another episode of Hotline TV. I'm Chuck Todd.
And I'm John Mercurio. Join us next time on Hotline TV.